Emilio, my favorite time with him because when he was 10 years old, he was chubby and he had asthma, so he actually wanted to go off of the track team. And probably that was the best day of my life because the coach actually told him no, they wouldn't let him run with the school team. So I went to the next day to school to talk about that, and the coach actually told me, your son is fat and he's not going to be able to keep up with the rest of the kids. And I was so sad, but I went home, I actually talked to Milo and I said, do you want me to help you coach? Because you can run the championship without being in that track team, you can go on solo. And Milo agreed to let me coach him. And that's how we became super, super close. We worked out together for 3 solid months. We went to the championship. He actually won the 50 meters. He was the only kid in his school to get a medal. And he actually walked by the coach, principal, and he came to me and gave me that medal. And I couldn't stop crying. I felt bad for Michelle because we didn't think he was going to win. We thought he was going to just show up and have fun with it. And the following year, the same thing. He won his medal, came back home, and except for the second year, he actually finished the line, and he was doing this to me. But it didn't mean he was being cocky or anything, but he was telling me, we're going to sushi tonight. Well, this is on, so all the way until December 5th, we worked out together every week. He was a phenomenal athlete. Coaches from all over would come and watch him, but he didn't want to work, compete anymore. But we still worked out every Tuesday. To this day, I expect a phone call around 4 o'clock from Milo, but that call doesn't come anymore. So December 5th, and we still don't know why, but Milo took his life. It changed the course of my life forever. For the last 7 years, I'm still struggling with it every day, understanding how to understand why or when, but it's gotten a little bit better. Life got really hard, and I think for most men, we grew up just kind of, I'm not saying, I don't want to generalize all men do this, but I did this. I started working really hard. I buried my life into opening restaurants. Michelle and I opened several restaurants the last 6 years. I just got busy working every day, trying to shove it. And all you do with grieving is, whenever you get busy or you do other things, all you're doing is kicking your grief down the road. You're going to grieve. It's going to happen. It's just that it's going to take something to stop and make you realize that you're going to have to deal with grieving. Well, COVID hit, and that was, life changed again. So I wasn't busy anymore at the restaurant, but Michelle and I were doing other different things in our lives. And after COVID, we got invited to a dinner in LA, and we had drinks, we had dinner, we drove home. Nothing major, but 2 months after that, I had to go get a physical. And the doctor actually asked me, I don't know what you've been doing, but your liver is in bad shape. You're probably drinking a lot. And I thought to myself, no, I'm not drinking that much. Just drinking regularly. Well, Michelle was there, and she started talking about that evening, that party, and it turned out, at that party, I probably drank over 2 bottles of wine and finished with a shot of cognac on the way home. I grabbed a bottle of water, drove Michelle home, didn't think twice whether I was drunk or not. And that was my wake-up call in life. I took my wife's life in my own hands, and not only that, I took the lives of all the people on the freeway. I could have taken someone else's life away, and they would be in the same spot as I am, grieving, not understanding. So at that moment, you have to make a choice, because I was so tired every day of whether I wanted to wake up anymore. I was never suicidal, but I was always tired, just tired of life, tired of being tired of grieving, trying to be sad. So if I didn't wake up, maybe that was a blessing. And the thing that was the toughest was dealing with God. You know, the hardest thing for this journey is dealing with God, dealing with other Christians at the beginning. You know, Christians have a tendency, so if you know somebody grieving, don't tell them it's God's plan or he's in a better place. You know what's the best place for Milo to be? Is right here with me. That's the best place. I never understood about him being, obviously he's with God and that is a great place, but no. This is where he belonged, next to me, running, calling me every Tuesday. Dad, what are you doing? Let's go, you know. Let's go surf. That's all gone. So I chose to live, and that's even harder because I decided it's time to take. So the first 6 months, most men, the problem with most men, I'm not saying all, we think by asking for help, we're broken. Well, we are. That's why you have to go get help. I couldn't have made this journey on my own. There's no possible way. So the first phone call was to Ron Otnott. He's my co-author of the book I wrote about my life. And Ron's first counseling part was, we got to fix your drinking. Because all you're doing with drinking is for sure kicking this bucket down the road. You're not dealing with life. You're not dealing with your emotions. You're just walking around. And you know, I never thought I was an alcoholic because you don't wake. I wasn't waking up every morning going, "Oh, I need a drink." No, I was just happy and then get home at 5 o'clock and start drinking. I don't know what happened exactly, how many bottles gone, but I drank so much from 1 year that I don't remember much of that year. So now you have to choose to live, choose to stop drinking, and well, I still drink a little bit still. But that's where the road begins, in counseling. And the hardest part about counseling was to find out that grieving is not fixable. So the journey of grieving is about learning how to live with it. All of us are going to grieve, I guarantee, in our lives. As we get older, Michelle and I are getting, more and more stressed about our lives because we're going to grieve again. In my lifetime, I already lost my oldest brother, my baby, one of my closest friends, and now we're getting to that zone in our lives that we're gonna grieve. But for you guys, my message is you gotta find help. You gotta be willing to take that first step. Without that first step, nothing works. And I know it sounds really weird when you have to choose to live, but when you're in that darkest part of your life, sometimes it's hard to see the light. But you can't see light until you're in the dark, which is really a weird concept in my mind. So the last couple of years, I'm still grieving, but it comes in waves. And now it's the emotions. There's days where you're quiet, there's days, and not only that, learning to love God again, learning to trust Him one more time has been the hardest road too. Part of this journey is to, because you can't, someone asked me once, do I love my kids more than I love God? And for 17 and a half years, maybe I did. I love coming home to the boys. It was my favorite part of the day. Rushing home, skateboarding with them, pushing them around, laughing with them, running with them. That brought me so much joy. But was God jealous of the love I have for these kids? These are things that just run through your head when you don't have clear answers what the heck happened. But, choosing to live, choosing to accept all the ups and downs that you're going to have. And now, the biggest part was letting go all the anger with God, which has been a journey all in itself. Because it's been a 3-year journey. The first thing I did is to call a pastor friend and ask him for help. So he got me into a men's group, Christian men's group. And that started my journey back to learning how God works. Because the first person or the first being that you're angry at the most is God. God did this. Because I think most of us are parents. As parents, we pray for our children all the time. For their health, whatever there is, for their future. You're giving it and put it all in God's hand. And you're going to trust the Lord that He's going to be there and answer those prayers for you. But when He doesn't, it feels like He took them away from you. And you're just so angry at God. You're so angry at the world that it's taking 7 years and I'm still not there with God. I'm still praying all the time for the right answers, for the right signs that things are going to get better. Every Friday now, so just to end this for you guys, I'm still part of a check-in. I check in with 3 other fathers because we talk to each other, because the only person that are going to know our grief is our wives. Oh, by the way, 90% of all marriages end after a loss of a child. Because you're actually so angry with your spouse too. You're on this road, this journey of grieving, and your spouse is the only one that knows how to grieve with you, but you're grieving differently, and you actually get upset at each other because you're in the same path, but she might be ahead of you. And men are so silly, they're competitive, so they want to catch up, and that's how grieving doesn't work that way. Like, grieving is not a competition. So when you're looking at your wife and goes, how can she do that? We used to go to parties, you know, and we would talk to a stranger, and somebody would ask me, how many kids do you have? Just one. I still have my oldest, right? So I say 1. And then they're like, oh, what does he do? Oh, he's at UCI, blah, 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 and they walk away. And then maybe 20 minutes later they come back and goes, hey, I'm so sorry you lost a son. You're like, because Michelle was very open about it. I've only been open this for the last 2 years. The first 5 years, I didn't want to tell anybody I lost Milo. It's not that I was embarrassed. I just didn't want to deal with publicly having to explain what happened in his life. Because the first question when people lose their children is, or anybody in life, what happened? They want to know, and that's okay. But when you're not ready to answer, it's a lot of weight on your shoulder. I didn't want to answer that question. What did he do? Well, he took his life. Oh, that was a great party line, and you're like, oh, great. Now the conversation changes, and you're like, have a nice day, thanks for calling. You know, what do you do at that moment? I didn't want that. I didn't want to have pity or anybody feel sorry for me. But now I published a book, so it's public. Now I have to answer that all the time. People ask me, you know, what happened? I said, well, read the book. I'm just kidding, but you know. But this is why I urge men and women, by the way, are much better at this because you guys get together in groups. When I was the first counseling group I was in, they said, hey, you need to get into this group. It's going to be important for you to share your story. And 30 people signed up via Zoom, and there was going to be all men and women, all lost their children to do suicide. It's through an organization called D.D. Hirsch. And so I thought 30 people, okay, I can hide amongst the people. And the first day it was 6 women and me. It was so hard to hide amongst that group. And women can share. They open up immediately. They start talking, crying. And Ed, how's your day? Like, it took me weeks before I could say I lost my son. But women are able to start sharing. Maybe not all of them, but that's the difference between, and that's why it's so important for you to, when you're trying to help somebody grieve, let them grieve and ask them what can you do to help them. And you know what's really interesting about grieving too? Also, like when you lose someone, is the first couple weeks, people are dropping off food, people are coming to your house, trying to help you, and you get overwhelmed, so you start telling everybody, oh, I don't need that. And believe it or not, it stops coming. And then everybody, all men, think that their best friend is okay because it's over. He doesn't need our help. And within a month or two, none of my friends were calling me back anymore about the loss. They were calling about football, calling about, hey, you want to surf, you want to go get a beer? Men don't talk about this stuff. My best friend and I, my whole family, I come up, all boys. It's all men in my family. We don't talk about this anymore. Versus I think, if you find someone that's grieving, as men, we should go support him. Call him and find out if he's okay. I'm telling you that there are going to be days that he's going to have a really rough day and he has nowhere to turn to because he's scared to call somebody and tell him, and he maybe wants to cry, but he's too scared to call someone. And that's what the book is about. It's that journey that you feel so alone, but you got to ask for help. And I'm very thankful and sad at the same time. Every Friday I do have a call-in group of 3 men, and we hate that we have that group, but we love that we have that support from one another. Because men don't do a good job of supporting one another. So if you know someone grieving, or you know somebody lost, it doesn't have to be a child. You should reach out to them, see how they're doing. And maybe talk about football, but see how they're doing physically, mentally. It would help. My wife wanted to share something else with you, so I'll let her share. Oh, in the women's group that was the group, the brain is so powerful. She had no physical reason why she was in a wheelchair, but she was grieving so hard that she paralyzed her body, physically paralyzed herself. There was no other reason besides the grieving. I was so shocked and became kind of scared for myself. What am I going to do if I to that point where the brain does something that you shouldn't? That maybe that's what happened to the kid. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for letting me share with you.